An 84-year-old wealthy woman suddenly vanishes from her safe, secure home. Left behind? Bloodstains, cut wires, and a Bitcoin ransom demand. But was this really a kidnapping, or a deadly trap set by her own family for millions of dollars? A master-planned murder where the killer threw the body into a river to wash away the evidence, but the water carried the dark secret miles away to the Mexico border. And the biggest question: why is the FBI still completely silent about this horrifying truth? There's a saying in the world of crime investigations: home is the place where you are the safest, but often the deadliest enemy comes from within. February 1st, 2026, the Catalina foothills of Arizona. This is not just a normal neighborhood. This is a place of massive mansions, high-end security systems, and extreme quiet. Nancy Guthrie, an 84-year-old woman, lived here. She had a very set routine and a peaceful life. But that night, a dark force entered her quiet palace and changed everything. When police entered the house the next day, it didn't look like a normal robbery. The scene inside looked like the opening of a horror movie. The very first thing investigators noticed was blood on the floor. Blood always tells a story. According to blood spatter experts, the drops showed there was a struggle. Nancy was 84 years old. She didn't have the strength to fight off an attacker, but the signs of a fight were clearly there. But the most chilling part was her heart medication. An 84-year-old woman who desperately needs her daily medicine would never leave her home willingly without it. This was a clear sign that she was taken by force. However, the biggest and most mysterious piece of evidence was the doorbell camera outside. At exactly 1:47 a.m., a person appeared on the footage. He was wearing a mask, he had gloves on his hands, and his body language showed he knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't even look at the camera. He reached for the wire, and the next second, the screen went black. The camera was disconnected. What happened inside that house after 1:47 a.m. is hidden in darkness. How much time did the masked man spend inside? How did he take Nancy out? And most importantly, how did he enter a high-security area so easily without being seen by any other cameras? This wasn't a random robbery. It was a highly calculated, perfectly planned operation. Whenever a wealthy person is kidnapped, the first logical step is a ransom demand. Just hours after Nancy disappeared, a new twist hit the case. Investigators found ransom notes, along with a sophisticated digital demand asking for payment in Bitcoin. At first, the FBI and local police treated this as a typical kidnap for ransom case. But here, you have to understand criminal psychology. Real kidnappers want money, and they usually make demands that are easy to pay, or at least they keep contact with the victim's family. Asking for Bitcoin is a common tactic for cyber criminals, but using it in a physical kidnapping is very complex. As FBI behavioral analysts studied these notes, something felt very wrong. The wording of the notes, the language used, and the timing of the demand, nothing felt natural. In criminology, this is called staging, or a red herring. Staging means the killer changes the crime scene to confuse the police and push their focus away from the real motive. Think about it. If you want to distract the police, what is the best way? You create a fake story that makes them chase an enemy who doesn't even exist. When the internet's true crime community and independent investigators looked deeply into these demands, a dark theory emerged. These ransom notes were just a smokescreen, an illusion. The killers knew that the FBI would spend months trying to trace the digital footprints and Bitcoin wallets. And during this time, the real killer and the real motive would remain completely hidden. There was never a kidnapping. From the very first second, it was a murder plot disguised as a kidnapping to buy the killer more time. In every murder mystery, there is a golden rule. Find the person who saw the victim alive last. In this case, that person was none other than Nancy Guthrie's own son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni. The official story is that Tommaso dropped Nancy off at her house. She was fine, and then he left. But in police interrogations, the last person is always the biggest suspect, even if there is no direct evidence against them. If we look at Tommaso's timeline under a microscope, many questions arise. How many hours went by between the drop-off and 1:47 a.m. when the camera was cut? Where was Tommaso during this gap? How solid is his alibi, his proof of location? Usually when you drop off an elderly family member, security alarms are set and doors are properly locked. So how did that masked man enter the property so easily? Did he have the security codes? Did he know exactly which room Nancy was in? These questions give birth to a very unsettling theory. True crime experts believe that a crime of this level is impossible without an inside job. If you are entering the high-tech home of an 84-year-old, you are either a top-level professional or someone on the inside gave you all the details. Officially, the police have not called Tommaso a killer, but in the public's eyes, his name is at the top of the list. The blank spaces in that night's timeline are screaming that a massive part of this story is being hidden from us. Was the drop-off just an excuse to set up his alibi? This is the question keeping investigators awake at night. Now we come to the most horrifying part of this dark theory. Behind every crime, there are usually three main motives: revenge, passion, or money. And when the money is in the millions, people often forget their own blood relations. Nancy Guthrie was not an average middle-class woman. She owned a massive fortune. Real estate, bank accounts, investments, wealth so huge that it could corrupt anyone's soul. Cui bono? This is a Latin phrase the FBI often uses, which means, who benefits from this crime? If Nancy is gone, who inherits this massive property and wealth? The theory claims that Tommaso wanted total control over this fortune, but he couldn't get his own hands dirty because he would immediately become the prime suspect. So what is the solution to this problem? A hitman, a killer for hire. In the dark web and the criminal underworld, it is terrifyingly easy to pay a few $1,000s to buy someone's life. The theory suggests that this crime looked so perfect because it wasn't done by an emotional family member. It was executed by a cold-blooded professional killer. The hitman was specifically instructed to make the crime scene look like a kidnapping, cutting the camera at exactly 1:47 a.m., leaving the medicines behind, leaving bloodstains so it looked like she was dragged away. All of this was part of the hitman's contract. Blind greed destroyed a family, and the price of Nancy's life was simply her own property. In every perfect murder, the killer has a false overconfidence that they will never be caught. After killing Nancy, the hitman needed to hide the body in a place where the evidence would be erased forever. He chose a fast-flowing river near the Catalina foothills. The killer's plan was simple. Throw the body in the water, and the river will wash away all forensic evidence, fingerprints, and DNA. Eventually, he thought, the body would get stuck in deep water where the police could never find it. But nature has its own plans. Water recovery experts say that the behavior of a dead body underwater is very unpredictable. The fast current, the undercurrents, and the temperature of the water, all these things force the body to keep moving. The body that was thrown near the foothills was taken over by the strong river waves. The river's journey was miles long. Days passed, and the body kept floating forward. And then came the twist that shook the entire case. Recent deep investigation reports suggest that the killer's biggest mistake was challenging nature. The body floated miles and miles away from the crime scene, finally washing up on a lonely riverbank right near the border of Mexico. What Border Patrol or local authorities found wasn't just a body. It was the ultimate proof of greed and a master-planned murder. Imagine a person sleeping in their own home and their body is found miles away near the border of another country. The water washed away the killer's lies. The river spat out the secret that was meant to be buried forever. This twist proves that no matter how perfect a murder seems, there is always a loose end. Now that the river has revealed the evidence, the hitman theory looks solid and the motive of the property is crystal clear. There is one thing that still makes no sense, and that is the mysterious silence of the FBI. Usually in a high-profile case, when a body is found or a major breakthrough happens, law enforcement agencies hold a press conference.
They update the public to reduce panic. But in the Nancy Guthrie case, there is a strange, dead silence. The FBI is refusing to release sensitive details of this case to the public. Why? In the world of investigative journalism, this silence means one of two things. First, the FBI might not have 100% undeniable evidence to present in court against Tommaso or the hitman yet, so they are secretly tracking their every move before making an arrest so they can't escape. Second, and even darker, are there more people involved? Is this hitman connected to a much larger organized crime syndicate that the FBI is trying to take down? If they release the details now, it could ruin years of undercover operations.
The public is getting frustrated with this secrecy. People are saying that justice is being delayed. But the reality is, real-life investigations aren't solved in 60 minutes like a TV show. The FBI is weaving a web, waiting for the killers to make a mistake. They may be silent, but they are watching everything. The Nancy Guthrie case is no longer just a kidnapping or a murder. It has become a dark tale of greed, deception, hitmen, and nature's justice that will be remembered for years. The river has done its job. Now we have to see when law enforcement will do theirs. What is your take on this dark theory? Is the FBI working on a bigger plan? Or has the killer actually beaten the system? Let us know your theories in the comments below. And to uncover more chilling secrets like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon. Justice may be delayed, but the truth, just like the flow of a river, always makes its own path. See you in the next dark mystery.